welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to walk you through how I achieve this super dewy, glowy makeup look. You would never guess that I suffer from super dry skin because I always get compliments on how hydrated my skin looks when I do this makeup look, and I also get a lot of requests for my skincare routine, but it's literally all makeup. So without further ado, let's get started. Bear with me, there is a ton of background noise today. I think the upstairs neighbors are doing deep reconstructive surgery on their home, and then I also have the washer and dryer running, so through the walls that's making a lot of noise. I'm starting with a bare face. The last step in my makeup is always lips, and I want to make sure that they are moisturized enough. So before I start my makeup, I always go in with something moisturizing. I'll use either the mentholatum lip balm, or this one is also one that I've been enjoying a lot lately. It's the Laneige Lip Glowy Balm in Berry. Just go in and do a really thin layer. So I get a lot of questions when I do this look, what foundation or what base I'm wearing, and the answer is always the same. The thing that I reach for when I'm going for a glowy makeup look, and even when I'm not doing a glowy makeup look, is Charlotte Tilbury. So these are the two that I've been using. They're both the Hollywood Flawless Filter. This one I've had for a little longer, so the label has actually completely come off. The one I've had for longer is 2.5, and this one is 1. So I find that 1 is a little closer to my bare skin right now, but in the summertime, this one's a little better. I'll mix them together to make the perfect blend for my skin. I always say fake it till you make it, and I have super dry skin, but there is only so much we can fake. So you have to moisturize. I like to use a really thick moisturizer. This has actually been my daily moisturizer as of late. It's the La Roche-Posay Triple Repair Moisturizing Cream, and it is so good. I have to run out and get a new one soon, as you can see. And then depending on the day, if it's a no makeup day, I'll also replenish my skin's moisture with Curel. Honestly, any Curel products, they're so good. It's a Japanese skincare line, and it's really good for dry, sensitive skin. Even if you have oily skin, you want to make sure to moisturize, because that's what keeps your face from overproducing the oil that can make you break out. I mean, I'm no dermatologist, so obviously ask your dermatologist. In lieu of a primer today, I'm going to go in with the Flawless Filter. I actually mix them both on my hand, so I'll show you how I do that. I use more of the color 1 because my skin is a little lighter right now. It's winter time. And I'll put some of 2. Because this is pretty sheer, if you want more full coverage, what I do is actually add a concealer. I'll list this one below because the label is coming off, but this is the Born This Way Ethereal Light Concealer in Vanilla Wafer by, oh my gosh, oh, this is Too Faced, by Too Faced. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of that on my hand palette as well. The concealer adds to the coverage. So when you add a concealer, you want to use one that is also dewy, so we're not sacrificing on the glow of the base. I have some spots on my face. I don't know if it's showing up, but I have one here, and then just a little bit of hyperpigmentation around the face. It's not so bad right now. I definitely have a habit though of picking at my face. I definitely have some scars. Once we have that palette, I'm just gonna go in and mix it together with my fingers. I really like to work with my fingers because the warmth from them ensures a nice blend into each other and onto our skin. So once I've blended it with my fingers, I just spread it across my face like that. And because it's sheer, I don't worry that much about having the perfect shade match. It's such a light wash of color over our face, honestly. Once I've just kind of spread it, I go in with my Rare Beauty brush, and I'll just pick up the rest of what's left on my hand and really work it into the brush, kind of warming it up. And then I start to spread. And you don't want to pull the brush across your skin. I just push the product in. So tapping, I find that this is the best way to apply my makeup because it really prevents the makeup from pilling, and it also kind of works as lymphatic drainage. So it's sort of, it pushes the puffiness out of my face, and you can already see I have glass skin. It's kind of the way you would use a beauty blender or a makeup sponge, but I find that using a brush soaks up a lot less product. Like every time I'd use a beauty blender, I would love how natural and sheer the finish was. But then I would also have half of the initial amount of makeup from my face, and that was why it had such a natural look, because most of it was soaked up by the beauty blender. See the glow? Oh my gosh. Honestly, you can stop here. You can stop here. So at this point, we're working with your skin a bit better. We're still keeping the character of our own skin. I haven't fully covered up these imperfections, but it's evened out my skin tone a lot, and I'm working with a much more dewy, glowy base. The next thing that I do is concealer. I have two concealers that I reach for when I'm going for a really dewy base. The first is this Yves Saint Laurent Touche Éclat, the high cover radiant concealer. The applicator is my best friend. The one I'm using right now and equally am a fan of is the Tower 28. Okay, it's not focusing, but it's in the shade BH. We're going to stick with the hand palette, and I put some on my hand, and here's the key. The Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in 2.5. This concealer color for me, as you can tell, is way too light. So I warm it up a little bit with this deeper shade. And this also adds even more glow to the serum, which is amazing. And I just go in with my finger and I mix it together. Can you see how that's a little darker than what we started with? Once that's all mixed together, I'll start placing this on the high points where I want to conceal and highlight at the same time. So those steps are gonna be one and the same. So usually for the front, I'll go in a triangle here. And then I also want to highlight a little above the lip. So I'll go like that. My chin, like this. A little bit goes a really long way. And I'll do the other side too. I'm gonna go here, slightly above the unibrow zone, and then the top of my nose. I usually leave a little bit on my hand because it comes in handy in the next step. With what's left on my finger, I'll just go ahead and start blending it together. For under eye concealer, I remember learning when I was really young that you should always use your ring finger because I think this finger is supposed to apply the least amount of pressure. And if you didn't know, the skin under our eyes is really thin skin, so you don't want to stretch it out and you don't want to stress, obviously, your eye area. So you just want to lightly tap it in, work it up along the sides of the nose, and you pull it out and up. So like along the cheekbone, like a highlight. And this is how we create dimension. I always pay special attention to the nasolabial folds, especially with thicker consistency concealers. They can get stuck around here, and this area of the face moves a lot. I'm really expressive and I'm always smiling, so you can see when I do this, I get a crease here, and then, you know, there's a lot of movement here. So that's where a lot of concealer can collect, and that can lead to creasing or makeup pooling, and we don't want that. So you just want to really work it in, making sure not too much product is collecting here. Another thing that I try to be careful with is not spreading the product around too much. So we placed it on the high points for a reason. We want to contain the concealer in that area. I feel like the placement is very intentional. It's meant to work with our face and highlight our facial structure. And if we go outside of those zones, like if I were to pull my concealer out this way, you can see there's kind of a natural shadow here. So if I did that, it would sort of cancel out the natural structure that I have. So working with the shape of my cheekbone, see I have this here, I go up. And then I'm gonna go back in with the Rare Beauty brush that we used for the glowy base. And I'm just gonna go over the edges of where we applied the concealer. And that's going to make sure that we don't have any harsh lines, anywhere that's unblended. Again, tapping and pushing in the product and buffing it out. Right now, the base is very light. So if you look at my face versus my neck, it's a couple shades lighter. A very important step, bronzing. I think Dewy evokes like a healthy skin, and hand in hand with healthy is sun-kissed. We want to look like we have enough vitamin D, even if it's the dead of winter. So I'm going to go in with my Chanel cream bronzer. I have hit pan on this a while ago, so I'd like to say I'm trying to make it last, but I'm using it every day. And this has lasted me well over a year with regular use, so it's really a workhorse. I've loaded up my Sephora, oh my gosh, why won't it focus? Oh, there we go, okay. This is the Pro Contour brush in 78. I'm going to push. So remember how earlier I was talking about facial structure? If we were contouring, I would go here where the shadow is. But because this is a bronzer, again, we're looking for sun-kissed. Like, where does the sun kiss our face? It's coming from above. So I go a little bit higher than where I would contour from, but still below where we put the concealer slash highlighter, and I just sort of warm up around the edges of my face. You don't want to go too far in the center, so I try not to go past my eyes and I stay outside. The forehead, I think, is really key. I generally skip this step when I'm back in Japan or in Asia because I feel like sun-kissed isn't really as appreciated. I think a lot of people prefer to tone up their faces, and that's totally okay. You can just skip this step. I think the look still holds. I prefer to add a little color back to my face. So I'll just go all around the edges or the borders of the face, and I'll go the chin here as well, just under the chin, kind of warming it up. And then kind of make it do double duty as a contour as well. And we're trying to tighten up the face. Remember when I said we would come back for this? So the next step is also my favorite step. This is the blush step. I think playing with color on the face is always the best. I'm going to go in now with my Glossier Cloud Paint. This is in the shade Dawn, and I don't know if you can tell, but this is pretty beat up because this has lasted me since, oh my gosh, I think I've had this for 8 years. This same tube. It's so pigmented that I literally just tap it onto my hand. I'm gonna show you. Okay, ready? I just tap. That's it. That honestly, I think might be too much. I'm going to blend it with the concealer that we used. See how it turns into this really natural peach? And we're staying consistent with the colors we've already used on our face. So it's gonna blend really nice while adding color. And I just warm it up onto my finger and I'll tap it in. For blush placement, I come further in than the bronzer, but I try to not go past my pupil. It helps sometimes to smile. You can see the apple of your cheeks, and I'll just place it on the high point. It's kind of in an upward motion, giving the illusion of lift always. And I'll just tap it in. It's a really subtle color. I hope it shows up on the camera. And then I'll wipe the excess product from my finger. This is the Hourglass, I want to say contour brush. I'm not sure. This was part of a set that was gifted to me, and I really love this diagonal edge. For me, helps push the product in really well. The hand still has a bit of this peachy shade, so I'm gonna load the brush up, just pushing all the product in there, and then I'll go ahead and blend out what we placed onto the cheeks. I prefer this over just going directly from the brush because once we have more than 2 layers of makeup on, things can move around a lot more easily and things can start to get patchy. So I know I've mentioned this a bajillion times, but the warmth of our hand really helps to integrate into the makeup layers we already have. And then the brush just gives it a slightly more airbrushed look. No harsh edges, and still ensuring that we get that pop of color. If you want, I like to do this. I just put whatever's left on the brush. I'll just sort of fluff onto the nose. It's time to powder. So I do 2 rounds of powder. First is setting powder and the second is finishing powder. For setting powder, I don't go all over the face. I just use this Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder for the under eye. So I'll tap off the excess, and with a small powder brush, actually I think this is an eyeshadow blending brush, but I use it as my precision powder brush under the eyes. Try not to stray from where we placed the highlighters. And then with whatever is left on the brush, I'll just go over where we highlighted already. The next step that I like to do is contour my nose. It's really simple. I use one product. It's actually not even contour. This is the Tartelette Amazonian Clay Matte Palette. This is what the colors look like. I go in with the shade Power Player right here. And I go in with an eyeshadow brush that's pretty packed and thin. And then I go down the sides of my nose. I don't do any crazy contouring, so I'm just going down the sides of my nose, kind of enhancing the shape that's already there. I don't do anything too crazy because depending on the lighting, it can either look really good or really not good. After I do the sides of my nose, I just go in underneath and I do kind of 2 dots to add a little bit more shape, just like that. I'm gonna blend Power Player and Force of Nature, and then I put that right on the tip of my nose. It adds just a little bit of a button nose effect. And then I'll just kind of blur everything out. And I always work the contour up into my eyelid like this. For brows, I'm not going to do too much. I think the focus of this makeup is really the skin. I'll just brush through with a spoolie, really easy. And then I go in with my Muji dark brown eyebrow pencil. I love this thing. When I don't want to pack a lot of makeup on a trip, I'll bring this one thing and I can use it for my nose contour, I can use it for shading my eyes, and then I can use it for my eyebrows, and it even works as lip liner. I'm just going to sketch out my eyebrows really easily. I think my eyebrows are my least favorite step. I really obsess with trying to get them to be even. So I found that the less you think about it, the better it tends to come out, or at least feel, because you're not thinking about it as much. But I think it doesn't help that my eyebrows aren't super even to start. That would probably make doing my makeup a lot easier. So once you do that, I go back in with the spoolie and I just brush it out. So now we have a little more eyebrow structure, and then I'll go in with a D Up liquid eyeliner in the color Gray Cashmere. It's a super fine tip. It's ideal for drawing in hair strokes. So I go right to the front of the brow and I'll just start drawing hair-like strokes. I feel like because the color is so light, I don't need it to be perfect because you really won't notice unless you're staring at me like really up close. And just parts where I have a little more sparseness, I'll just fill in. So like with this eyebrow, I have a little bit of a patch here. I'll just tap in some color like this. And you can still see the hairs of my actual eyebrows, so I feel like it offers a really natural look. And on this side, it's a little sparse here, so I'll just go ahead and tap that in as well. Nothing too major. It helps to take a step back when you're doing your eyebrows. I can get really into the look and then I'll be staring at my eyebrows up close, and then when I step away I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so uneven. So I like to use two mirrors, one further away and then one close up, so I can sort of visually compare and see where I'm at. But I'm gonna force myself to stop because I'm going to keep going until I feel like they're perfect, and nobody's eyebrows are perfect. Okay. I was like, why is it getting darker? That was so creepy. I forgot the lights are automated. Okay, I'm back. For eyes, I'm not doing anything major. I'm going to go in with the D Up Silky Liquid Eyeliner, same one we used for the brows, this time in the color Brown Black, which is a little deeper but not quite black. I'm going to tight line on my lash line. Oh, I still have some eyelash glue from last night. That's okay. I'll zoom you in a little bit. Wow, you're so close. Okay. And I'm just going to really stay close to the lash line. All I want to do is give the illusion of a thicker lash line. So I'll actually also go under. This helps if you have a mirror below you so you can look down. You don't want to go in the actual waterline. This is above the waterline. It's like you're just filling in between where your eyelashes grow. So just directly onto your eyelashes, basically, the root of your eyelashes. Once I pass the halfway mark of my eyelash line, I'll go back on top of the lashes. Still trying to stay really close. And if I go a little too far above, I'll just smudge it out with my pinky. And then, can you tell how this side gives the illusion of a thicker lash than this side? But it's also not terribly noticeable. I feel like this side has a little bit of black lash glue too, so it's actually not a good comparison because I have product on this side. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. If you're worried about slipping into your eye while you're drawing the tight line, oh my gosh, this always makes my eyes water, but I'll just tap along the lash line as well. And that will do the job, okay? There we go. Eyeliner generally makes me super nervous, but because you're already following the line of your natural eye and you're not having to do any geometric calculations other than that, it's really simple to just do this. For the next step in the eye routine, I'm just gonna go in with my Lancome lash curler. For curling my lashes, this is how I do it, but I go up to the lash line and I squeeze, not super hard, but I give like 2 to 3 light squeezes, and then I'll move up a few centimeters, and then I move up a few millimeters and I'll squeeze again. And same thing all the way until you reach the end. You just repeat that. Can you see it? You just get a really cute curl. And you don't want your eyelashes to be so curled that they're touching your eyelids, because then when you try to apply mascara, you're just gonna hit your own eyelid and they can't go out or long. So the most you want is to end up at a sort of 90-degree angle. But I honestly wouldn't even go that far. Just really light. Working from the base all the way up. And then I just kind of go in with my fingers. I don't know why I do this, but I feel like when I put on mascara right after curling, I get some angles in there. This way they maintain the curl, but they're also at a slightly more natural place. And now I go in with mascara. The Deja Vu Lash Up Mascara in Mascara E1. And this is in the color black. I believe this is supposed to be a mascara for the under eyelashes. I find that this brush tip is the best for elongating because it separates your individual lashes while adding length. And what's nice is this formula isn't super rigid, so it adds pigment to my eyelashes, but they stay bouncy, which I love. I like to coat the eyelashes on top and from below as well. I heard that that can weigh it down. I like it. I think it makes them a little thicker without being clumpy because you're still brushing them through. And then I just use the brush tip to separate any lashes that have clumped together, and I'll go in and clean this up, anything that's gotten onto my eyelids later, but for now, this is what they look like. So this is the difference. Do you see how they're still super fluffy even though I just put a ton of mascara on them? And I'm gonna go in with a second layer actually. I like to blink while applying my mascara for length. The second layer, I'll just do kind of on the ends of the lashes, because that's where I want the most definition and thickness, but not on the inside, because I feel like that takes away from the natural look. I can tell that the washing machine cycle is almost done because it is spinning so fast. It's so loud. Do you see what I mean with the eyelash curler being a little too strong of an edge? I don't know if you can see right here. It just has sort of an unnatural bend. I can't tell if that was from the eyelash curler or sleeping on my literal eye last night. So now that we're done, I'm just gonna go in with a clean spoolie and brush over really lightly because this can hurt, but I'm just gonna brush over where there was mascara on the skin, and that'll just get everything off. And this is the eye look. We're almost done. Actually, we're not done with the eyes yet. I forgot the namida bukuro. This is the tear trough, I believe. It's this little area under the eye that is a little bit puffy. I like to highlight it and add a little glow because it adds to the 3D-ness of the face and also draws attention to the eye if you highlight it. This is Urban Decay Moon Dust in Space Cowboy, and then a Sephora smudge brush. It's a really packed brush that I like to use for highlighter in small areas. I'll just pack it onto the brush And then I go right under my eye, towards the outer corner. It has a little bit of color. Hi.
Hi.
I start right under the pupil, and then I'll blend it out toward the end, and it adds this really pretty, sort of peachy, orange, pink hue to the eyes, which is really cute in my opinion. I also use the Becca highlighter in, I want to say it was called Champagne, but I couldn't find it right now, so this is the one I'm using. And it complements the blush really well, so they both pop on the face, which is nice. Now we're done with the eyes. And this is the look. No, it's not. I didn't finish my lips. If I'm going to be wearing this makeup for a long time, I will finish with a powder. One that I like is the Airbrush Flawless Finish by Charlotte Tilbury. This is in the color 1. I just picked up this puff. It's not a puff, but this, I don't know. It says Shobido on it, but I just picked it up at a drugstore in Japan, so anything will do. This one is just perfect because this size fits perfectly in the powder, and then I can just keep it closed on top, so it's always ready to go. And I'll tap that over the face. I also like this because it helps to blend together everything that we put on one final airbrush. But I do avoid these points where we already put the Laura Mercier powder, because this one definitely does have a little bit of a mattifying effect. It still feels like skin and it's really natural. But I'll just put it on parts that tend to be a little oily. So I'll go over mostly where I put the bronzer, pretty much the forehead, and then just around the face. And then I'll keep everything around here free of powder. And then, now that we've put powder, I want to add back dewiness. So I'm gonna go in with this Morphe brush in R37. Today I'm using this Halo Mineral Baked Highlighter. I just take a bunch on the brush, and I go over the cheekbones, just right here, where the light would naturally hit them. I'm pretty heavy-handed with this highlighter because I find that baked highlighters are a lot less intense, especially this one. This one feels like a really nice veil of highlight without being too in your face. So it's really perfect for all over the face, but I just stick to the cheekbones. I'll put a little bit above the lip, right there. Maybe a touch on the chin. Oh, and I go on the eyelids as well. So I'll put a little bit here, and a little bit there. And that's it. I think this one really makes the eyes pop. I know I said I was done with eyes, but this doesn't count. This is technically face. I'll go in the inner corner. I used to use a really bright highlighter for this and a smaller brush. I think like the inner eye corner highlighter was really trending. And I remember I was at afternoon tea with my mom, and she was like, "Moni, did you not wash your face when you woke up?" And I was like, "Of course I did. I'm wearing a full face of makeup." She was like, "I think you have some eye crust in your eye." And I was like, "No, Mom, that's the makeup look." Depending on how we move our face, it draws attention back to the eye, which is perfect. And now lips. I want to go for a more natural lip look today. And I'm going to use my tried and true absolute favorite. Actually, you can't even read this because I've used it so much. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip liner in Deep Taupe, and it is the embodiment of your lips but better. For me, for my lips anyway. I'll show you. It literally just looks like the color of my lips. If a little darker. And then I'll just use my finger to blend it out. I want to add a pop of color in the center. Okay, I found two that I think would be good. I want to use either the Glossier Sheer Matte Lipstick in Zip or MAC's Chili Tokyo Exclusive. So this is the color for MAC's Chili Tokyo. It's so pretty. But I think I'm leaning more towards the Zip. It's just a little bit less orange than the other one, so I think it'll blend with the rest of my look today a little more nicely. So I'm gonna stay in the center. It's a little bit of an ombre effect that I'm going for. Where we go from the pop of color to a more neutral outside. My favorite way to blend a bunch of lip products together is with lip balm. So this is the one, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. This is the Mentholatum lipstick. Can you see how that blended it a little bit? So now it's just all on the lip balm, which I will clean later. Lastly, for that super dewy look, I'm going to come back to Laneige that I put on in the beginning of the video. Perfect. It's going to add a wash of sheer pink, but most importantly, it's going to add a super glowy, dewy layer. Do you see that? To our lips. Wow, I look so hydrated right now. Now we're done with lips. So this is the super glowy, super dewy, super natural makeup look. I reach for this almost every day. It's really quick, it's really simple. I think this look really enhances your natural features. I think this is one of the makeup looks that made me love my face more.